Hello and welcome to my review of the Hello, welcome to my review of the Hello and welcome to my Hello and welcome to my review of The Piper at the Gates of Damn it! God, that was terrible. That really was not funny at all. But my point that I'm trying to make here is that I can't just call this a review of The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. No. This is going to be another series, another bloody series. I know. But there's going to be no editing, no special effects, nothing elaborate. It's just going to be me talking to you about my favourite music, my favourite band of all time, Pink Floyd. And this will be the Pink Floyd journey. A sonic journey through the history of Pink Floyd and through all of their studio albums and beyond. So yeah, this is kind of partly inspired by Darren Locke. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm suddenly noticing I'm quite far down the camera, so I'm gonna tilt that down a bit on the fly. And yeah, Darren Locke, he reviews music, and I love his channel. Have done for years. He's a fantastic YouTuber, really funny. Really enjoy his opinions on music, and he has a much bigger knowledge of music than I do. And that's one thing I should mention before we get going on this thing, is I'm not really that musically inclined. I love music, but I tried to pick it up myself. I can play a few chords on the guitar, but I really just, I haven't got the gene for it, I don't think. And I do believe that is true, but I do believe there is a music gene. But The Piper at the Gates of Dawn was Pink Floyd's first album. Now, I first discovered Pink Floyd in 2007 with the BBC documentary, looking back on their 40th, on the 40 years of their history, on their 40th anniversary. Well, the 40th anniversary of the release of The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, I should say. They'd been around a few years before that as different names, and The Pink Floyd, until just deciding to be Pink Floyd. And yeah, there's a lot of history to the band, and I could honestly make hour-long videos on every album talking about the history of the band at that period of time. I mean, I've really delved deep into the history of Pink Floyd because I love the band so much, and they just hooked me with that documentary on their. I think their story's fantastic. It's such a tragic, an uplifting story, with ups and downs and twists and turns, and yeah, and there's going to be a new album in October, so I figured it'd be great to kind of go back and look at all their albums and talk about them and listen to them again, which I'm really enjoying, by the way. So this is a cool thing for me to do, but I'm also glad that a few people have expressed interest in hearing my thoughts on Pink Floyd when I announced it last week. So yeah, let's get right into it. And again, I've got Wikipedia up here on the old tablet machine, and so I've got some information. But I mean, I could easily read so much about this, but I'll try and keep it as quick as I can with the technical details, and I'll give you an image of the actual album cover here. So, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the first album that Pink Floyd came out with. Just to go over the basics while we start. The front man of the band was Syd Barrett, who was the lead singer and guitarist. We had Richard Wright on the keyboards, also doing some lead vocals and backing vocals. And we had Nick Mason doing the drumming, the percussion, and Roger Waters, who would also contribute with vocals and the bass guitar. And this was the kind of the solid lineup. There was Bob Close used to be in the band, but this is really considered the first real incarnation of Pink Floyd, of which there have been, I'd say, three main eras and lineups of Pink Floyd. And I'd say, well, yeah, Nick Mason has been a part of all of them, as has Richard Wright. So yeah, the album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the title is from, I think, the 7th chapter of Kenneth Grahame's The Wind in the Willows, which was, I don't think I ever read the book, or read the book when I was a kid, but I always saw the animated movies, and I loved them. Big fan of The Wind in the Willows, and that's where the name of the album came from. I think it was originally titled, what was it? It begins with a P. It'll be here somewhere. I'll come to it when I get to it, but it was originally titled Projection, I think, or something like that. It was released on the 5th of August 1967 and recorded between the 21st of February and the 21st of May in 1967 at Abbey Road Studios in London. Of course, they were recording in the same space as the Beatles were back then when they were recording, Sgt. Pepper, and that was when, the album became the big thing. I mean, singles were really huge, and the main kind of source, I think, of income and revenue from the the music companies and bands around that time, in the 50s and the 60s, the rock and roll, and then in the 60s you get the psychedelic movement and all that kind of thing, and pop really coming into the forefront, and albums started to become the big thing with the Beatles and the Sgt. Pepper and all that kind of stuff. So they made this album, and it's probably one of my least listened to albums. I don't love it, but I do really like it. And also worth noting that the Beatles engineer Norman Smith was the producer on this album. So let's just go through the tracks before we get into anything else. The first track is the first ever Pink Floyd song officially on an album, Astronomy Don't Mine, which, or Domain, I don't know, Astronomy Don't Mine, we'll say, lead vocals by Barrett and Richard Wright, and it's really a really cool one. I like it, one of my favourites on the album, really spacey, which, you know, space rock kind of feel to it, and you know, lots of lyrics about planets and Jupiter and Saturn and all this kind of stuff. And I love the lyrics of Syd Barrett, who was the main songwriter in the band at this time, and just lyrics like you know, floating down the sound resounds around the icy waters underground. I just think there's something brilliant about that, because it's not just rhyming for the sake of it, it fits and it flows, and it was very lyrical, Syd Barrett, and very whimsical, and I think that really came across in a song which isn't as whimsical as the rest of the album. I think, you know, Astronomy Don't Mine is very spacey and kind of out there in your face a little, but still has that kind of the floaty lyrics, which I think are really cool, and I really like the song. Number 2, the second track, is Lucifer Sam, lead vocals just by Barrett in this one, and this is probably my favourite song on the album now. I've listened to it a few times, more than a few times since I started re-listening to this album for this video. I never really listened to it before. I mean, some songs I just flicked through back in the day when I would listen to all the albums, which, you know, 2007. I mean, it's so late for someone to get into Pink Floyd, but better late than never, I guess. But Lucifer Sam, I really like it. You know, just something about the groove of the guitar, and just the fact this is a song about a cat, or apparently it's about a man. But I don't know. I mean, just it's just some cool lyrics, and I love the vocals and the guitar, just the yeah, the grooving riff is really cool in this one. Number 3, third track, Matilda Mother, lead vocals by Richard Wright and Syd Barrett again. This one, you get into this kind of it brings about this imagery in your mind, kind of very pastoral, very English, you know, just and again, kind of fairy tale-ish, kind of childlike aura about it, kind of thing. And that's something I think Syd Barrett is really kind of maybe obsessed about, you know, especially if you look at this album. A lot of it's very childlike, a lot of it's very focused on, you know, childlike things, stories, fairy tales, you know, that kind of thing. It is what it is. I don't really love it that much. Flaming, just lead vocals from Barrett on this one. It's quite similar actually to Matilda Mother, I guess, in tone, and both of them kind of blend together for me. I tried to listen to them both multiple times, but neither of them really stood out to me that much. Number 5, Pow R Tok H. This is an instrumental with wordless vocals by Syd Barrett and Roger Waters. And this one is, I like the beginning with the ba-bum ba-ch-ch, ba-bum ba-ch-ch. I like that, but you know, the rest of it, it's you know, you get Roger Waters doing his screech, so I can't even do it, like weird noises, and just it's a kind of an all-out attack of just sounds. And you know, Syd Barrett would famously do very weird things with his guitar. You know, he would, there's this footage of him with, I think, with a cigarette lighter, just running it up his guitar and looking very intently at it. And, you know, he did a lot of weird things, and you get a lot of different sounds. Pow R Tok H is not one that I loved, but, you know, it was what it was. Number 6, Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk. This was I think the first song that Roger Waters wrote himself, and he does the lead vocals, and bit of a weird one, this. It's like a da 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 da, just things rhyming without making much sense. You know, doctor, doctor. It's another weird one. I didn't love it, you know, I didn't hate it at the same time. And then if you go over to side 2, I guess, back in the day, we'll call it track number 7, Interstellar Overdrive, the longest song of the album, and kind of a precursor of things to come for Pink Floyd, a 9-minute 41-second track. That was written by all 4 members, an instrumental, and basically, you know, they would do this in the clubs in the 60s in London, like UFO and Middle Earth, and they basically they'd have all these like kind of psychedelic oils run through filters and, you know, projected onto the walls, and it'd be very psychedelic, and they just jam for ages. And sometimes they do it where they would jam like, well, they'd start a song, they'd sing a verse, and then they just jam for like 20 minutes, and then they'd finish the song. You know, just very experimental stuff, very unique. And Interstellar Overdrive, I love the title of it, but I like the beginning and the end, but the middle section, it just kind of goes for me. You know, even as a huge Pink Floyd fan, you know, it's not one I'm going to listen to over and over again. Number 8, I guess we'd say, is The Gnome. Lead vocals from Barrett from here on out for the rest of the album. The Gnome, again, this is one just, you know, it's about a gnome, you know, and this is very simple, you know, simplistic lyrics, and not quite as brilliant as some of the other lyrics on the album from Syd Barrett. And then number 9, we have Chapter 24. This has quite an Asian twang to it, I feel like. I kind of, you know, I'm reminded of some kind of, it just evokes imagery of Asia to me, you know, nothing specific, but just an Eastern feel to it, I guess, would be a better way to describe it. I liked it, you know, but again, it's a thing that this kind of Syd Barrett pastoral image for me, you know, is not one that I love, but I appreciate, and I really am a fan of Syd Barrett and his mad genius, I guess you would call it. And then number, what would you say, 7, 8, 9? Number 10, The Scarecrow, which I think they released as a single. And again, this one is just kind of there, you know, and I liked it for what it was, but I tried to listen to it again a few times. It didn't really stick with me, like, say, you know, Astronomy Don't Mind or Lucifer Sam, or the final track of the album, Bike, which is number 11, and the final track, I just said the final track. Bike, I love, is one of my favourite Syd Barrett Floyd songs. Just wonderful lyrics, and again, just wonderfully mad as well. Just a really mad song. You know, I've got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket, a bell that rings, and things to make it look good. I'd give it to you if I could, but I borrowed it. And just the lyric takes you one place, it goes somewhere else, and it kind of still manages to flow and goes along with it. And you know, I've got a cloak, it's a bit of a joke, and it just goes, yeah, just really weird and wonderful lyrics, I guess is the only way I could describe it. But that is The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. In the US, it was released with See Emily Play, which is a single that came out, I'm not quite sure when. I'll see if I can find out very quickly now without kind of dawdling too much on it. But See Emily Play was a single from around that period, at least, let's just say that. And yeah, 18th of May. So it was released on the 16th of June. So See Emily Play came out before the album did, as a single, and reached number 6 in the charts. Around this time, Pink Floyd picked up a reputation for making music for LSD users, and of course Syd Barrett was taking a lot of LSD at the time, and acid and that kind of thing. But yeah, See Emily Play anyway is a great song. It's probably my favourite Syd Barrett song for the Pink Floyd, along with Arnold Lane, which is another single they released around the same time. I'll see if it's on there as well. And I really wish that The Piper at the Gates of Dawn had Arnold Lane and See Emily Play on them. Arnold Lane came out in the 11th of March, so I guess Arnold Lane and See Emily Play came out before the album, so that's why they're not on there. But I love those two songs. Arnold Lane, which has a great music video to it, by the way, so it's just a really cool one, and you really get to see all members of the Floyd from that era when they were quite young, which is interesting, and a very interesting music video. But Arnold Lane is about a guy stealing women's clothes from a washing line, you know, moonshine, washing line, and Arnold Lane had a strange hobby. Just brilliant. I just love the lyrics of that song and the way that Syd sings them in such an irreverent way, almost. And is someone mowing? No, it's a car. I tried to film this video yesterday, and there was someone, a neighbour, who was mowing their lawn, and they'd mow it for 2 minutes, they'd stop. I'd start filming, then they'd start mowing again, and it went on for an hour and a half. Who mows their lawn for an hour and a... Anyway, it's just a car, so it's good. Yeah, and See Emily Play, just fantastic. What's one of those lyrics that really stands out to me is, oh, I'm trying to think of the lead-in so I can get it all. Yeah, Emily tries but misunderstands. She's often inclined to borrow somebody's dreams till tomorrow. And it sounds bad when I say it like that, but just the way he sings it, and just wonderful, you know, often inclined to borrow somebody's dreams until tomorrow. I love... So I've said this is just, I'm repeating myself at this point, but it's very tragic because Syd Barrett, you know, he really indulged himself in drugs, and there's never really been a definitive kind of conclusion as to what happened to his brain, but, you know, I'm going to go with what Richard Wright said, and what he said a doctor told him, which was that there's nothing they could do for him. You know, he destroyed his brain with drugs, he overdosed, and I don't believe it was an overdose in one particular moment, but more over time he just gradually destroyed, you know, the part of his brain that made him normal. And he was apparently such a lively, fun guy, and everyone loved him, everyone wanted to be his friend, you know, and he's very popular. But halfway through the making of The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, apparently that's when things started to go quite downhill, and they'd had trouble playing shows, and he would be very vacant, and at one point he was playing his guitar and he just detuned all of his strings as he was playing until they just fell off, and he'd just stand there, wouldn't play. And you know, they do TV appearances. I think they even went to America to do a tour, and they had to come back early because he just wouldn't perform, you know, and he'd say, yeah, sure, 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 and then when they'd start rolling, he just wouldn't, he'd just stand there. So very weird kind of story, and a tragic story too. And you know, I think there was a something about it here. Yeah, but they were drawing huge crowds at the time at the UFO Club, but Barrett's deterioration caused some serious concern. The band initially hoped that his erratic behaviour was a phase that would pass, but others, including the manager at the time, Peter Jenner, and his secretary, were more realistic. And his secretary, June Child, said, "I found him in the dressing room and he was so gone. You know, Roger Waters and I got him on his feet, we got him out onto the stage, and of course the audience went spare because they loved him, and the band started to play, but Sid just stood there. He had his guitar around his neck and his arms just hanging down." So very sad how it turned out, and I'll talk more about the continuation of that, you know, Sid story within Pink Floyd in the next video, where I'll be talking about their second album, A Saucer Full of Secrets, from 1968. But yeah, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, you know, it is, you know, universally acclaimed. You know, Q Magazine 5 stars out of 5, Rolling Stone Album Guide 5 stars, All Music 5 stars, you know, NME 9 out of 10, and I have no idea how reputable any of those are, but you know, it's universally praised as like a, you know, a seminal psychedelic rock album, as it says here. For me, you know, I love it. I love a lot about it, but it's not one I'm going to listen to over and over again. For me, the standout tracks are Astronomy Don't Mind, and Lucifer Sam, and even Interstellar Overdrive I really enjoy, and Bike. The rest of them I really tried to get into and find something I really loved about them, but they were just there for me, and I really wish we could have swapped out a few of those ones for See Emily Play and Arnold Lane, which I might talk about in the future, because I'm thinking about doing a video on Works and Relics, which are compilation albums including some unreleased tracks. I'm not sure if I'll go back to those, but we'll see what happens. Right now I'm just looking at the studio album. So that was my thoughts on The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Quite long, I know, sorry for rambling on, but it's probably going to be like this, and you can expect very long videos for, you know, Dark Side of the Moon through to The Wall probably. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this first installment of the Pink Floyd journey, and my overall rating for The Piper at the Gates of Dawn will probably be 3.5 LSD tabs out of 5. I feel like, you know, my enjoyment of it and its significance for Pink Floyd and as a psychedelic album, you know, 3.5 out of 5 for me. You know, it's just, I couldn't really rate it much higher than that, but I still really like it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you with the next one.